Yo, what is going on today, everyone? We're going to be doing another mod today. It's the Aem Oil Pressure Gauge. And whether you guys are naturally aspirated or boosted, this is still going to be a good mod for you to do to make sure your car is running in tip-top shape and make sure your pressure, your temperatures, and everything are running well. So if you guys are pushing your car hard at all, really recommend checking out this gauge, and let's go see how to install it. I've already opened this to make sure everything's in there, but I just want to show you guys what comes in the box and what you guys can expect if you guys do purchase one of these. So right up top, you do see the gauge. It's pretty nice. I do like the black. It's gonna look pretty good in the interior. You get your harness to plug in. This is the actual sensor that you'll be plugging into your car to read oil pressure. Some wire taps. Nice sticker, I guess, if you guys want to put an Aem sticker on your car. Instruction manual. So I've already looked at this. It'll tell you what power the sensor needs. It'll tell you how to plug it in and everything. So when you guys get yours, just check out the manual. One thing I forgot to mention at the start is that this is the X series Aem oil pressure gauge. I'll throw the link in the description so you guys can see, but you're gonna want this if you guys have an 86 or BRZ or FRS, because the X series goes up to 150 PSI on the gauge, and on cold start, the car will go above 100 PSI. So if you guys are looking for an oil pressure gauge, make sure you guys get one that's at least 100 PSI at the high end. That way you can make sure your cold start oil pressures are good, and when it settles down you're driving, you'll still be good for the ranges that it operates in. So here we got the sensor, and it actually shouldn't be very hard to install. You got a couple options. Since I got my Jackson Racing supercharger and my oil cooler, I'm actually gonna replace one of these blank plates here with an adapter for the sensor, and that way I'll get oil pressure right from my sandwich plate. And if you guys don't have an option like that, another spot you guys could do, if you're naturally aspirated, there's a plug right there underneath the harness. So I believe that's called your oil galley or gallery plug or whatever. You just pop that open with a hex socket, and you can put in the sensor in that spot. So what I found with mounting the gauge here was gonna be probably my preferred option. It does look a bit OEM and hidden. Like if you're just chilling, you don't actually notice it too much. It doesn't stand out as much as those, which if you're going for that, that's totally cool. But for me, I just wanted something to look kind of OEM plus and hidden. So to mount it in here, we're actually gonna pull this trim off and replace this vent with this mount here. So the oil pressure gauge will sit inside here. It's a 52 millimeter gauge, so this is perfect for that. I actually 3D printed this and I found the file on Thingiverse, and I'll probably throw the link down in the description below if you guys wanna try your own hand at that. And if you don't have access to a 3D printer, you guys can probably just order the original from Glowshift. I didn't want to do that because here in Canada, like, ordering it and shipping it to Canada, plus the conversion rates and the shipping and the whatever duty that I would have had to pay, wasn't really worth it. I found like paying like $80 Canadian for a piece of plastic kind of stupid. So I spent like 250 bucks on a 3D printer and printed my own. So hopefully the 3D printer will come in handy in the future as well, and we'll make a couple more parts to make its money back. When you guys are doing this, you're gonna have to get an adapter like I mentioned before. So I just want to show you guys what I'm using. This is a 27 mil to quarter or 1/8 inch NPT plug, I believe it's called. And this fits right onto the oil cooler, and it replaces the blank plates there. And you could probably use the same thing on the oil galley plug, but this is actually supplied by Jackson Racing. So it matches up nice. It's got like their logo and everything. And of course, before installing the oil pressure sensor or the adapter, we're gonna be putting some of this white Teflon tape on the threads to protect from any leaks. And make sure you guys do that so you don't get oil all over your engine bay. Something like that. Alright, so we got the sensor plugged in, got it mounted up fully, got the wire routed where I kind of want it to go. It's coming out from the bottom here all the way around back to the firewall grommet. Before we secure it down in place with zip ties, let's go do the power wiring and make sure everything is working fine. So you guys do have a couple different options. In the instruction manual it came with, it says it takes an input range of like 7 to 18 volts or something like that. Just double check there. But I did use a fuse tap for my Starlight headliner, so I'm going to continue using a fuse tap for this. The black is just getting grounded on this bolt over there. So I'll add the wiring for the oil pressure gauge to the same tap here, and this will go back into the 10 amp fuse slot. So I'll put a picture of that on the screen here so you guys can see it. I'm just going to squeeze this right in. That fits nice and snug. I know we need the hardware because of how tight of a fit that is. Like, this is not going to pop out anytime soon. Damn, that looks so good. I'm personally very impressed that my first real print worked out. I did like one calibration print on my 3D printer and then printed this, and it's like spot on. So sick. Alright, so we have everything reassembled except for the gauge. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of clearancing I had to make. So this whole assembly, when it goes back in, it presses up against the ducting for the vent that's inside your dash. And what you're going to have to do is cut a little channel on this side for the harness that plugs into the back of the pressure gauge. And you can kind of see here that I just, it's kind of hard to tell, but I did use like a little blade and I cut out a channel there to make it fit. So it is kind of hard to tell, but you guys will know what I'm talking about when you do this. I'm just going to plug this into the gauge and press fit it back in and clean up all the wiring. Alright, so I rolled the car out, got everything strapped down exactly where it needs to be, got the gauge in, and let's turn on the car and make sure that there's no oil leaks from the fitting and make sure that this all works out well. So like I said before, we're supposed to be at above 100 during cold start. Looks good to me, I think. So I give everything in the engine bay a once over. Everything looks good, I think. No leaks or anything like that. Now that the cold start has died down, we're sitting at around like 60 psi. I have no idea what that's supposed to be at this time, but we'll go for a quick drive and make sure that that's okay, and check the fitting again to make sure there's no oil leaks. And look at that, headliner is working properly since I did adjust the power with the fuse tap for the pressure gauge. But this looks good. Like, it's so just like, I mean, obviously you can see it, but like it's not like it's an add-on, like an obvious add-on or obstruction on the car. Like, it's a nice OEM plus look. I'm liking it a lot. So before we go for the drive, I just want to show you guys the remote for the valve exhaust. Like, it's open right now, you press B, it closes, with A, it opens up again. And C and D are for like opening and closing it by small amounts. So like, you can make it quieter and quieter all the way to close, or you can make it more opened all the way to fully open. And then you can get like a 50-50 mix of like how loud or quiet it can be. But for me, I'm just fine with having it fully open or fully closed, and using the button I set up inside to control that. So I'm not really going to be using this too much, but just figured I'd give you guys a little demo. And while I am standing out here, man, this car needs some love. Let me know if you guys want to see some more videos of this. I did have some maintenance done to it, and I've been thinking about doing a test pipe and a tune so I can really wake up the 2.0T on this car. Right now it's just like the daily driver, but I'm not really driving too much these days anyway. But yeah, this car needs some love. Let me know what you guys want to see with that. Okay, so now that we've fully warmed up, we're sitting at our idle around like 800, 900 RPM. We're at around like 22 to 25 PSI. I'm not sure if this thing needs like any calibration or whatever, but I do know that we hit above 100, around 105 here in around 22 degrees Celsius weather. So we hit 105 PSI on startup, and now we're sitting around here. And I think the rule of thumb is it should go up, I think 10 PSI per 1,000 RPM. So we'll go for a quick drive and do that. But before going on the drive, I realized I forgot to tell you guys why the oil pressure gauge is so important. So when you guys are pushing your car really hard and your oil gets hot, that's when you're going to start to lose oil pressure. It starts to drop a lot. And on these cars, like the 86, FRS, and BRZ, these FA20 engines are really moody about oil pressure. So if your oil pressure drops too low, that's when you're going to start to have problems when you're pushing your car. and that's where most people blow their engines. So oil pressure and oil temperature are going to be key. Make sure you guys have something to monitor your pressure if you're pushing your car, if you're on track, or if you're just doing pulls, if that's something you're into. And along with monitoring your oil pressure, make sure you guys consider an oil cooler. An oil cooler will take you guys a long way in making sure your cars are healthy and reliable for all the stuff you throw at it. So for me, getting the oil pressure gauge was actually like the first thing I wanted to do for gauges. This is going to be the most important because I'm still running 0W20 oil with a supercharger, and if I do notice my oil pressure dropping, that's where I'll start to introduce a thicker oil, like maybe 530 or whatever oil people recommend when you're pushing your car a little bit harder and pushing higher temperatures. So for me, obviously this is the first gauge. One day I will look into getting an AFR and a boost gauge. They're not really required for a supercharger kit, but I feel like it's probably good to have. Definitely to keep your eye on and monitor your whole system. So for now, this is the first of 3, and let me know what you guys think. If I get the other 2, should I mount them up here on the 8-pillar column? You can also 3D print another mount that replaces this as well. So you can kind of have 2 more gauges right here, and you can see all 3 along this direction. That would actually be pretty nice, I think. Or the one that goes here. Like I said before, I'm not a big fan of these, so probably won't consider that, but I'm thinking the one up here is going to be the coolest. Let's open up these valves. That's more like it. So let's check our plugs, make sure there's no issues. It's hot as hell, be careful with that. But I don't see any leaks. I don't see any residue anywhere. I think we're okay. All right, and last test is going to be turning on the AC and making sure that we can feel some good air around the vent mount. You guys saw it has the cutouts there to allow for that. So I'm actually feeling a good amount of air, and that's just on like low. Let's go all the way up. Obviously, you know what, like, that's actually really usable air. Like, I don't mind that. Obviously, like in the middle you don't feel much, but around the edges it's there, and it's still pointing directly towards me, and I can feel all the air all the way from where I'm sitting. So no concern about let me just turn that down. So no concern about airflow with this. I'm still getting plenty of AC, and everything's working well. Everything's in there well, snug, nothing's moving. So yeah, sick. Alright, so if you guys have watched all the way to the end, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Let me know what you guys think about where I should put the next 2 gauges for this car. That'll be AFR and boost. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you guys next time. Peace out.